Hey yo, G Dash, boy, take your hat off. Fine. This week on Hats Off with G Dash Jones.
Hey, woo! It's your boy G Dash Jones. Y'all know what this is. It's Hats Off. Talk about it. Hey, oh, in the background, y'all know what I'm playing? Yo, we getting funky. That's it. Shouts out to Songbird the Goddess. That's a fact. Oh man, that was Lickle Waste. 2 K's in it. Lickle Waste. All right, Lickle Waste by Songbird the Goddess. Listen, her album about to drop. I think maybe a week or two. It's about to be fire. So shouts out to Songbird the Goddess for the vibes. It's your boy G Dash Jones. This is another episode of Hats Off with your boy G Dash Jones. This week, oh man, when I tell y'all, this week I got the man, the myth, the legend on the show. Oh, I'm talking about your photographer's favorite photographer, y'all. Like some of the shots this man didn't listen. Oh, he goes by the name of Emir Lake, aka Mr. E Lake Photos, aka listen, you ain't seen a better shot. Holla. So we gonna chop it up. I'm going to talk to him about kind of his whole journey into the whole space of just not only photography, entrepreneurship, and he be fishing. What? Yeah, we're going to talk about it all. Also, listen, I got to let y'all know, personally, check me out, November 18th, MKT Place Gallery. What's the people thinking? Say, what? Oh, what? Wait. It's going to be me. That's right. And your boy D Hoff from Harvey Road. Ooh, listen, we're gonna have Harvey Road in the building. It's gonna be a whole little vibe, something that y'all ain't never seen before. A once in a lifetime improv opportunity, right? There's gonna be grub in the building. Shouts out to Rhythm and Heat. Gonna be had the seasonings together. Chef Rell gonna chef it up. Oh, it's gonna be something. Oh, you don't want to miss the situation, right? Icebox Limited, you see them, they gonna be in the building vending. Rum Cake Universe, they gonna be in the building. It's gonna be a vibe November 18th. Also, just so you know, November 17th, I'm hosting Ghetto Songbird Rocksploitation live at Finnegan's Delaware Music Network. Shouts out to them. That's gonna be a vibe. Yeah, keep an eye out for I'm gonna do a hat tip because there's been a lot of events. I do a hat tip every couple weeks where we talk about all the things that have been popping off. So I got one of those cooking up next week because there's been some events popping I want y'all to know about. So y'all see that. I keep all the replays on YouTube. So again, hit that YouTube up /G-Jones. And also look out tomorrow. I'm gonna put out some schedule options for y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all about all the things coming up. All right. So listen, we moving out here. It's your boy G Jones. Now, without further ado, okay, I need y'all to get your moments ready for the man, the myth, the legend. Right? If you don't know him, you've seen his pictures. He goes. Okay. He's an advocate for the underserved. That's right. He is a fisherman's fisherman. That's it. And with that said, he also is an excellent photographer who has taken some of the most amazing shots around town at some of these events that have happened, and some of the got some beautiful circumstances with the people. So right now I'm gonna bring up my man, goes by the name of Emir Lake, aka E Lake. I'm right up here now, and we're gonna talk about it because he's literally been taking pictures everywhere from the weddings, the bar mitzvahs. He's had a lot of celebrity shoots just happened to be around while he was taking a picture. So he's really got some really dope shots, y'all. So and I almost forgot. And this is a part of our partnership here at Hats Off with the Women's Business Center at True Access Capital. So shouts out to WBC at True Access Capital. Because for help making this whole situation possible. All right, now there you go.
What up?
What's good with you?
Bro, that was a hell of an intro. I appreciate it.
I mean, I've been around you in some. I've been around you in some spaces. You be killing it, bro.
Yeah, but likewise, man. You know, it's important to give you your flowers as well. Because like you put together all this content for us to be able to jump on and, talk about the things that we got going on. So without you, this wouldn't exist. So man, hats off to you, dog. Keep doing your thing, bro.
I don't even know. Listen, we eat late. Look, listen. All right, I ain't write this down, but I'm gonna ask you this out the back. Do you have a favorite picture that you've taken?
That's a good question. Maybe. The thing is, like, with photography, there are moments where like I have an immediate favorite picture, but then as time passes, like, and I re-examine or like life changes and I look at things differently, there are other things that just stand out to me about some of my photos, and then photos that maybe I never have posted on Instagram become like instant favorites. So it's hard to say if I have a favorite, because it's like constantly evolving, and it's one of those things where um, I I'd be doing a disservice to say that some other photos of mine that I may not have given like a second eye to at the moment are like my favorites. So
Okay, okay. Is there a favorite, like, I guess I don't want to say celebrity shoot, or a favorite one that you had, like that you was at an event, a favorite event that you shot, maybe?
yeah, so a few stand out immediately. So one that I can think of was with I did a shoot. There's a guy named Gregory Jerome. He's in King of Pressure. He's like a stylist, and I did a shoot with. He invited me to the Met in Philly, and the Locks were there. So it was like the Locks, Busta Rhymes, Spliff Star,
Hey.
and I'm 80, so like I grew up on them, and just to be there to like photograph them. Like I met them very, very briefly. But like that was just cool because like these are people that I actively listen to in the car all the time. And to be able to like capture like not just an image, but like have my own flair and twist to it and like be front and center, but also enjoy the concert. Like that just stands out, and it was like really dope. And then I think a second favorite, it's not necessarily the photos that stand out to me. It was more so the experience. It was Angela Davis, and photographing her was like really cool because I mean, Angela Davis, the name speaks for itself. But like she was just very like personable, very caring, but also I believe she's like in her late 70s, early 80s, but to still be an advocate and go as hard as she does for like causes that I'm 37, that we're like still in the infancy stages pretty much of like advocating for and speaking about. Like she's still doing it, and like it was just really dope to like be able to capture someone so iconic and someone so revered within the community, and like personally that I just like think is like the shit. Excuse my language. But yeah, so like that was like really cool, and I
Yeah, you got Angela Davis, Busta Rhymes, and Jadakiss. That is fire. Okay, that is kind of a dope little setup right there, the
it is.
collage. All right,
It is.
let's back up a little bit. Tell the people a little bit about yourself, sir.
Yeah, so I'm 37. I live in Wilmington, Delaware now. I'm from Philadelphia, born and raised. I went to Parkway Center City High School out there. Eventually, I started working in education and higher education. I guess around like 2010 and forward to like around 2020, 2021. And so I had a completely different career path that I was doing. And then, everything eventually led me to photography. Outside of that, I have a 16-year-old daughter. I have a loving mother, loving family. I have, homies that I've made and homies from like growing up in West Oak Lane and Uptown that I'm like still in contact with. And then I have just things that I'm into, like fishing, of course, but I know we'll touch base on that at some point. But yeah, I have like a lot of things that kind of intertwine well to make up the aesthetic of Emir Lake. So beyond the photography.
Right, you a little multifaceted mother. All right, so so I'm curious with all of that, how did you wind up into photography? Like, where'd that come from?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think I've always liked photography, but I didn't know why. Like I didn't grow up with like a camera in hand or know anyone that was a photographer. I think it was actually I was actually reading something earlier today. It was with it was on Tyra Banks' page. I just happened to be looking at like her and like what she's been doing the last few years, and she said something about a recent campaign she had done where back in her day in like the 90s and early 2000s, there weren't many black photographers, let alone many black women photographers. And, you know, I say that to say, you know, when I was, you know, coming up, it was like I knew that I liked photos and I liked the creativity that was like around photos and being able to capture them. I was always into like nature and like National Geographic images and so forth, but I wasn't exposed to a photographer. Like I didn't know. You just see the image, you don't know who's behind it and what goes into it. And so, what got me into it was I think I liked it, but then I was married before, and I remember our wedding pictures were just awesome. And I just want to shout the photographer out. His name's Joshua Dwayne. He's a super popular photographer in New York City. But our pictures were just awesome. But aside from that, just the way that he was like navigating the room and being able to like create just such dynamic images in spaces where you look at it and you're like, how can you create something decent here? And he just did that. And like that was just so intriguing and interesting to me, along with his second photographer, Matt. And so after that, I started to, you know, pick it up myself after the wedding. I loved our photos and I wanted to try it on my own. So I started with an iPhone, and then eventually I worked my way up to a camera, and, you know, it's been progressive ever since.
Wow. I'm gonna tell you how dope that is to me, because you said you was married before, and all I heard was you got married to be a photographer. Like that's how it really, that was destiny. That's why you had to, you put a ring on it so you could put the camera. You know what I'm saying? That's how you got the vibe. Listen.
Yeah, well, listen, I don't want to, you know, my ex-wife was like amazing. I don't want to take away from that experience. And, you know, though it didn't work out, like it was a part of my life that I definitely, you know, will remember always. Like I can't forget that. But it also helped to, you know, birth a newfound love in me. And that was like the idea of like being a photographer. And so that came from that. And like, I love where I am right now. So it's awesome.
Yeah, that's fire. I'm here for it. So, all right. So now he's outside. He's taking pictures of like snails and zooming in on the worms and stuff. You get in the world, and then you like, I want to get paid for this. How did you go from getting the camera and just kind of like playing with it because you're like, oh, this is a cool skill, to feeling like, nah, bro, I need to build a clientele. How did that happen?
Get your tickets now for the What's the People Thinking live music and spoken word improv experience with G-Jones and D-Harv at the MKT Place Gallery. We got food on deck, we got drinks on deck.
Gon' pull up a seat and pull you a shot, then head to the floor, give it all that you got. See my band gon' play and it ain't gon' stop till there's no one left in this whole damn spot. We gon' rock, we gon' roll, we gon' roll, we gon' rock, we gon' rock, we gon' roll.
That's a really good question. I'll try and make the answer as brief but as loaded as possible. So when I first purchased a camera, it was just kind of for like, you know, to take nature images. So like snails and leaves and different things. Like I had no real passion or interest as much as I do now of photographing people, especially because I just didn't think I could do it. Like my confidence was just on a donut. But I think what really got me into it was I was working at an organization called Year Up. It's a nonprofit organization for 18 to 24-year-olds out here. And so I used to photograph a lot of our former students. And I think I was always, I see one on right now, Latoya, but I was always just into like, you know, making people look as good as I felt like I look good, as well as like my bridal party and like my ex-wife and our families look good on my wedding. And so I remember like starting with my iPhone and just using that to capture images. And then eventually, like I upgraded to, you know, a Nikon D3400. And once I realized that I was like actually all right with it, and then I had the first person reach out to me about like trying to, get paid. I was only charging like $60. So I'm like, all right, you know, whatever, like I'll do it like this. And then eventually, to, you know, kind of fast forward, I was let go from one of my employers.
Hold on, back up. How many pictures were they getting for $60?
Probably like 1,000. I was just snapping. So there's something called continuous shutter, and that's where you hold the trigger and you just let it snap. And I was just snapping, and like I didn't care how many. It could have been like 1,000, and I was just sending them out just because like it was also like I was very inexperienced, but I just also wanted to see what I could do. But then I just didn't know, you know, photography is like there's no one set rule that fits all. It's just like you do what you feel is best. And so it was hard to find information about how many shots should I take on average, or, you know, how much should I charge? Like it's really all subjective and up to whoever the photographer is. So I, you know, once I started doing like certain jobs, and then once I got let go from my employer, I needed to make money. I was let go from my employer in 2020. And that was obviously during COVID, and unemployment didn't kick in until like 7-8 months later, right? And like it's not like I was like I quit and had a severance package. Like I was legit fired from my job, and I was fired because I believe in like, you know, equality and fairness and like just shit like that, especially when it comes to young adults. So no one's going to tell me anything otherwise. But I digress. I was let go and I needed to make money, so I started like picking up my camera and like, you know, trying to offer like little packages of like photography and practicing on like some of the people that I knew. And then as my portfolio started to diversify, eventually like I began to like understand like, you know, all that goes into photography, such as the software that I need for editing, the time that it costs me to go out there, the gas, the mileage, like all sorts of things. And all of that helped me to, at the moment, develop like a baseline for where I felt like I needed to be financially. And so that's kind of like where I started to like, you know, really charge consumers like a reasonable amount at the time, what I thought was reasonable. And like from there, it just started to like take off, and, you know, I started to build on that. And like Corey said, God did, right? God did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, listen. Oh, God. Sorry, I had a moment. All right. But real talk. And I'm actually, so now, and that kind of makes me even curious. When did you kind of know? So there's being a photographer, and then there's editing. How long did it take you to learn the editing part of that process? Because, like, yeah, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah. So that's like a forever learning process, I think, because there's always so many things. I mean, now you have AI out there, which, you know, definitely, you know, helps to expedite a lot of things. But just in general, like I wanted to learn the traditional style of like editing for my particular style. And that includes Lightroom, which is like a software that most photographers use to, you know, at least retouch like the lighting and the contrast, the highlights and like an image. And then Photoshop, which is like to remove people or things. And like Photoshop is a beast in itself. But, you know, one thing someone taught me is how do you eat an elephant? And it's one bite at a time. And so Photoshop, I had to learn how to do things one step at a time. And I'm still learning. Like I'm probably like 0.1% of knowledge of Photoshop, right? It's so all encompassing, but it's just, you have to be able to like sit down and say like, yeah, this is cool. I know this for now, but what's next? How can I continue to reinvent my craft and make myself unique, and have my own identity? And like Corey said, always perfecting the craft, and you know, learning as much as I can with not just Lightroom, but Photoshop, but then just not sticking to one style. So my style is like very linear in a sense, but it also evolves in terms of maybe I'll use a little bit more color this year. Maybe I'll use a little bit less contrast this year. So it's just like trying to learn little things that fit my aesthetic, but also help me to evolve technically, and then as a photographer, you know, on that end. So, yeah.
So all right, you outside, you taking the pictures, right? Boom. How long before you developed your style? Like,
at all versus just being able to take pictures. You know what I'm saying? Like like how did that even come about of having your own style of shooting?
Yeah. So I was a fan of like certain photographers. Like, you know, obviously I didn't really have a baseline of where to start. Like I knew I was a fan of the photographer of my wedding, which was Joshua Dwayne. I loved his images, just how clean he made like black people look and black skin look. Because traditionally, like black skin in certain images just never looked good to me. It was like, you know, you have like a white kind of baseline to photograph darker skinned people or lighter skinned people, and like that doesn't work for us. Like we're not like this, you know, everything isn't the same. So I started with that, and then I started researching like different photographers that I liked. So there were photographers like, there's a gentleman named Manny Ortiz, there's a guy named Brandon Cole, you know, even some local photographers. There's a guy named Don't Judge Me Productions, and so forth and so on. And I started to like peep their style and like say, what about them do I like? And one thing I always was taught was to take the meat and throw away the bones. So I would take little bits and pieces of photographer styles that I just thought were like dope and like really incorporate that into mine. And it wasn't like this overnight thing. Like I'm still, you know, I still have days. Like I think yesterday I was editing some images and I was just looking at them like, I kind of want to try and like push the envelope now and try something new, but still maintain images where you know it's an E-Lake Photos style shot, but I also want to incorporate something different. So I think it's always like I'm learning, or I know it, I'm always learning. It's just a matter of I've adopted so many styles that there's not one person that I can pinpoint in terms of where I've like learned, you know, everything that I've gotten so far.
So now, and that to me that's fire, especially just looking at that totality of that journey. Now you going full time, full entrepreneur mode with the photography in 2020, right? And now it's going 2023, going into 2024. What would you say are some of the lessons that kind of let you was like, all right, you know, you're just not that same photographer, or not that same businessman. What would you say that you gathered in that time frame that kind of just changed the whole vibe?
Yeah, so well, what I'll say is this. I got fired from my job in 2020 and I took some time off and I didn't go back to work. I tried to go back to work in, I guess, January, February 2021. And like, I just remember everything just wasn't working out. Mentally, I just wasn't there. And I think it was just normal for like a lot of people, like COVID was happening. Financially, like I had to make money, but I was also comfortable. Like I can, you know, sit in my house and make X amount of dollars versus going into work for 40 hours a week just to make the same amount. And so it was just like, I guess to answer your question, what got me there? It was just a number of different things, like just, you know, knowing that I wanted something different for myself, knowing that I didn't want to feel the stress of, you know, going into a 9 to 5 and like just dreading it every single day. Like that was something like I truly just, I got tired of that shit. And I got tired of that. I just didn't want that for myself. And so all those things I think compounded, like fueled me to kind of just say, you know what, I just got to take this step, bet on myself and like really, you know, get to that next level. And don't get me wrong, it's not easy. And it hasn't been easy, but it's much more gratifying and satisfying versus for me going in to work for someone else every day and I'm just completely unhappy and don't want to be there.
Yeah, well, yeah. Listen, it always sucks working a job that you don't want to be at, no matter I don't care who you are, and it just so happens you get to do something that you actually enjoy. So that's a huge bonus. What are some of the what are some of the lessons that you don't mind sharing that you learned along the way?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't answer your question. My bad. I went my own way. So some of the lessons I've learned is that number one, it's not easy. You know, you are going to fail a lot, especially because it's like, it's learning, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, children, like you don't instantly come out the womb and know how to walk, you know, you got to crawl first. And so, you know, I've had to crawl, and because you think you can do it and you know you can do it, you still have to put the time in, you still have to put the work in. And like, you know, I'm not going to say I've done that all the time, I think I've done it a good number of times, but like I failed plenty of times where I've like gotten overly confident well before I should have been, and it just didn't work out. Or like my customer service skills just weren't there, or like the technical expertise just wasn't there. Like just a number of different things. So I think that's just one of the lessons. And then I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? Because I just don't. I want to.
What are some of the lessons that got you to, within the last 3 years that you learned since you became a full-time entrepreneur?
Yeah. So I think also, let me see. So I think with me personally, I learned that not that I don't work well with others, but I work well alone. And I work well alone because I'm able to, like, say it's a wedding, I'm able to take that wedding and kind of make it my own and like do my own thing versus knowing someone else is there, whether it's an experienced photographer or not, and like having to like kind of figure it out around them, like, feeling some sort of insecurities around like, am I doing it right? Am I teaching it right? Am I good enough to like, hang with this person? And, that's like another thing. And then trying to see if I have one final thing. Another lesson I learned is that you got to work hard, man. Like you got to work hard. And I don't mean hard in the sense where you don't get any sleep, because I think you absolutely need to balance it out. But you have to treat your job or your entrepreneurship like it's a 9 to 5. And so like I wake up, pretty early. I wake up at like 5:30 every morning. And I get up and like I try and send emails, I try and edit photos, and I feel much more accomplished earlier in the day when I, start off earlier, and I could get a lot more done. When I don't, one of the lessons learned is that like I start to become behind on bills. I start to become behind on like my workflow and different things. And it's just like, that's not cool, especially when you're an entrepreneur and like everything you do determines how much money you're going to make. So even your personal decisions, like as far as like drinking the night before or whatever, like all of those things add up and make a difference in terms of, your output and like, what you need to do. So like those are like just a very small fraction of the few lessons that I've learned, over this time.
Okay. I just so you know, real quick, I gotta talk to my people. Hey, look, y'all. Okay, he just dropped a bunch of gems. All right. What I need you to do, okay, if you watching this live, look, you got to go back when it's on YouTube or Facebook and watch the replay and just take notes, okay? Because he hit you with a couple little means, okay? And if you wasn't prepared, then you gotta know. Okay, I'm gonna give you a quick little boom, right? It was from the rip. Know what your best hours of operations are. Whether it's going to be in the morning, the nighttime. What's going to make you most productive in that space? Okay. Be prepared to fail. It's okay as long as you come up with a lesson. Keep working through it. Keep going. Right. And again, be as dedicated to your own craft as you was to some other people's job that they have you working at. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just had to talk to them real quick. They know they're my people. So now, earlier you mentioned, you said that even with leaving the last job and everything. Oh, I forgot to. I'm so sorry to derail real quick. Also, even if you feel like you don't belong in the room, you do belong in the room. But learn if you work best alone, right? Because what happened, and I'm talking to the world, and I'm talking to E, is what happened is even if you question yourself because you're near somebody else who's in a similar craft, you'll find out that you take better pictures or do whatever better than them anyway. I've seen it. So right next to them, I don't know if I should be here with them, but they might not have the talent, the skill, or the style that you got. So you shouldn't even doubt that. You should just know that you work better by yourself. All right.
Yeah. But what I'll add to that is that also I think photography is very subjective. So I never like to think that I'm better than anyone with photography, because anyone could think someone else's pictures, like you could come out and take pictures and they'll think your stuff is better than mine, which is like cool. Like that's cool. We're allowed to exist simultaneously in the same space. And so I had to get over like my ego and myself to be able to accept like it's cool. Like if I have another photographer, like I personally I like to use like younger individuals who are like up and coming to help them build their portfolio versus like an experienced photographer. That just works better with me. That's not to say in the space that I'm in now that I can't work with like an experienced professional, because I 100% absolutely could. And I have the confidence, demeanor, professionalism, and the skill set to know that I can. But at the same time, photography is subjective. So once you kind of know that your art form doesn't trump someone else's, you kind of take the anxiety portion out of it. It's just like, what I need to be afraid of. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just doing me, you know, and I'm presenting what I know is best to like my audience, and the people that like me will gravitate towards me, and those that don't, and like, that's okay as well.
Yes, and I agree with you. Things are subjective. He's absolutely right, but he's dope. So I mean, like my man David Hayter's dope. My man Tuck, Big Tuck is dope, and my man E Lake Photos is dope. And I've seen him saying that some photographers that couldn't take pictures of him, and I said it. Now, moving on. This is why he should have never gave me a show. All right. So with that said, you said that you would never kind of stand down on how you feel about kind of advocating for the youth and those underserved people. Why is that something that's so passionate for you?
I wish I could hit on all the reasons, but I'll just hit on whatever comes to mind. Number one, like being a Black male, and I grew up in Philly, and like seeing so many underrepresented and people who like just deserved an opportunity but weren't afforded that opportunity, but still get penalized as equally as, you know, people who do have those opportunities for certain things or still get held to certain standards is like crazy to me. And it's just nonsensical. And so, like, as a Black person, like, considering everything we've gone through, and let me be clear, the ramifications and the effects of like slavery still exist to this day, and that was years ago. And like, we're still feeling the effects. And so to be able to advocate for people is like just very important to me. When I worked at Strayer University here in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, I came across so many older adults who were like extremely intelligent, but due to their specific situations and their demographics, they weren't afforded the same opportunities to be able to like pursue their education as like their typically and traditionally their white counterparts were. And so you would see them like struggling with debt, struggling to like, work 2 jobs plus go to school and so forth. And like, that's just like, it's crazy. And so that's just one small example. And like, that really got me onto it. And then I recall a time when I was working at my job Year Up out here. And I remember I took a few students from Wilmington to Citizens Bank Park in Philly for like some event. And like a lot of them, like I want to say like 65% of them never made it outside of Wilmington, Delaware. Now, I'm from Philly and I had been to Wilmington at some point in my life, a few times in my life actually. But Wilmington is just so small, and to hear that people never made it out is just crazy to me. And it goes to show you the degree of separation between the haves and the have-nots. And it's not that the have-nots don't want to have the same thing as the haves. It's just that there's no equity amongst all of us equally distributed.
I'm thinking. Put this on your calendar. The Liberation exhibit by Ela Zay at the Soul Firm will show you that soft girl got something to say. On your way to the Queen? Oh yeah, go ahead. See Benjamin Wagner, Suge Daniels, and J.D. Webb. Or instead, you want soulful sounds. Well, that's a wrap. First Fridays at the Monday Club, see to the max. It's a fact that Saturday's Pancake Feast goes hard, presented by the Lions Club at the Claymont Fire Hall. Want a ball? Grab a bat. Let's see how well you hit at Woodland Park's Home Run Derby tournament. Is that it? No, ma'am. You better go and see Jolly T at the Nomad. Take that golden ticket to see Willy Wonka. At the Griffin Theater, meet my Oompa Loompa partners. Or start to see the game, understand where it's from. Delaware Theater Company presents Kings of Harlem. Start Monday off right where you need to be. Good Morning Wilmington on DETV. Tuesday, you can chill. Watch The House of Peach with April Green Anderson and Morgan Harvey. Wednesday, they brought the drones out. We not stopping. You want to watch Watch it, drone soccer at Goldie Beacom College? Oh, you need jobbage? Get on up. Don't chill. They got a job fair happening over at Goodwill. And still, speak and let your spirit come out. Twin Poets open mic at the Grand Opera House. Thursday, you gonna learn and listen at that fireside chat talking about the Gumbo Coalition by MWL at the Wilmington Library. And then you'll see Amari Hardwick in the Savage Chart series. Listen to the Blairisms. Then it's me, G-Jones, every Thursday, 7:30 on IG, interviewing whoever and everybody. Then see me in D-Harv November 18th.
And so one thing I'm going to do is always go hard for my people, because we've been marginalized, demonized, stigmatized for centuries. And like, you know, I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I at least want to plant at least one seed so that that one seed could blossom or bloom eventually, you know, where it's needed to. And whoever that person or those people are can inspire the next generation. And then I think, importantly, anyone that's marginalized outside of race, like, that just shouldn't happen. And so, you know, when you fight for the rights of people, for me, like, there's just a certain satisfaction that comes from being able to say, like, I did the right thing. My moral compass is where it needs to be. I stood on what I needed to stand on, and like, I'm very firm on those things. And like, I'll be damned, like, I live down in downtown Wilmington, and like, I hate when I see people who are out here like homeless, like in downtown, in a city where you have a ton of financial institutions. You got banks, you got Chase, you got Bank of America, you got JP Morgan, and so forth. And people just walk by all these people all the time. I spoke to one woman who's like easily dismissed as being like crazy and just far gone. I sat down and I talked to her the other day. I said, "Can I buy you something to eat?" I bought her something to eat. I said, "What's your name?" She told me her name. I asked her how old she was. She told me. And I just started to like speak to her like about her life and so forth. And she can easily be characterized as a member who's not contributing to society, and society has discarded her. But like, she has a story about how she reached that point. And I hate that, because Black people, we're not given the benefit of the doubt. Our story doesn't matter. And so for me, our story matters. My story matters. Your story matters. Corey's story matters. Ashley's story matters. And so like, that's important for me to like always advocate and fight for what's right. And like, all the other bullshit is just irrelevant to me. Like, I'm not about talking points. I'm not about what's politically correct. I'm about what's right and equal for society. And like, you know, for me, you know, there's no better fight than, you know, especially when you think about like our forefathers and, you know, the people before us who like actually died for like the things that we take for granted day in and day out. Why wouldn't I fight for that? You know?
Wow.
It's like, it's, you know, it's easy to just say, no, that was like 100 years ago, or, you know, who cares about what Rosa Parks did, or Harriet Tubman, or, you know, who cares about what Malcolm X stood for, or, you know, whatever. Like, that's hogwash to me. No, we always, as Black people and marginalized people, we always need to advocate for ourselves and continue to recycle the dollar and continue to be proponents of ourselves so that we can like push the envelope forward and really advance. And if we don't see the fruits of our efforts today, like, that's okay. We can see the fruits of our efforts later down, or the fruits of our efforts will be seen later down the line, is what I meant to say, for another generation. And like, that's okay too, being comfortable with that.
So that makes me curious. And people often look at me and they be like, "Hey, Jarrell or G-Jones, why are you like this?" And I'm gonna ask you, like, when you look at that, right? Because a lot of people don't have that same integrity. A lot of people do look at the history and they kind of disregard it. They don't hold on to it, right? They don't realize that the fight is an ongoing fight for the next generation. Like, they will completely disregard the past. So again, you holding that so close to you, why are you like that? Why?
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint one thing, but one thing that always stands out to me, and I think it always will, is I remember like when I was living in Philly, I got locked up several times for like, you know, different things like burglary, theft, you know, jaywalk, all sorts of things, right? And I remember one of the last times I got locked up in Philly, living over there, I had there was this white lady. I think she was, I can't remember her role. I don't want to lie. But I remember I had to join like a video conference with her, and I had sat in jail for like 3-4 days at that moment, and it was time for me to talk about bail. And I remember she looked at me, and I had already been locked up like, you know, several times before then for like dumb shit. And she was just like, we'll give him bail because he'll be back.
Wow.
I remember,
yo, that's crazy.
like,
That's
I
crazy.
remember what she looks like, everything. And she said, just give him bail. He'll be back. Like, it doesn't matter. He's going to come back. And I just remember feeling like, first of all, I was like, Trick, no, I won't.
Yo, facts.
I was like, oh, you got me effed up, shorty. You got me chopped. And so I just remember like taking like note, like a mental note of that. You know how they say you forgive, but you don't forget. It was like I just didn't forget that. And you know, I remember getting bailed out, and like in the moment, I was just happy to be out. But like that line just always stuck with me. Like her just saying that, and just knowing like the areas and the situations like I've come from and was able to overcome. I always wanted to make others feel like, bro, you don't have to go back. Like you can actually be better than this. And you know, there are other things that you can do, and like don't fall victim to what they say or think you're going to do. Like, nah, prove yourself otherwise. Don't even make it a goal to prove them otherwise. Prove it to yourself that, nah, I'm not going back. And so like once I learned that, and like I stuck with it and became consistent with like certain habits. And like, don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. I definitely backslid plenty of times. But like that was like always one of the catalysts for like the fuel that ignited the fire for me to just say to myself that, nah, I can do this. I don't need to be a product of what she thinks I can be. I actually want to be this. I don't want to be what I was raised around. I don't want to be what my OGs only told me I could be. Like, I want to be who I feel like I am. And like that took some time. But once I learned that, the sky was the limit. And yeah, see, we can find her, dog. I'll look up my information. I'll go find that lady.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, she would be shocked. I want to give a shout out to Miss Ham Hock Head for doubting like Bell. I don't know her name, but I'm calling her Miss Ham Hock Head. That's her name now.
Yeah, I need to get a shirt like that.
Shout out to Miss Ham Hock Head. Oh man. All right. So now I have to pivot because there's a whole other thing with you too, and I'm curious. Growing up in the inner city, going through all the things you're going through, being a photographer, this whole world, how the hell did you become a black fisherman? Like, how did we wind up? It ain't a whole bunch of bodies of water right in Philly. So you was going to the water. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. When I was working at Year Up, so like, let me preface it with, like, I fished before, but I never knew what the hell I was doing. I thought fishing was as simple as a hook and a worm. And that's what I knew. Like, I didn't know any fishermen. I recall a time where my mom knew this guy. His name was Mr. Sylvester. And like, he took me out fishing when I was probably like 10, 12, somewhere around there. But it was just like a once in like that was like my first time doing it. There was no sign of when I'm going to make that happen again. And so fast forward to 2018, I believe. I had a student, he's actually on Instagram, and like I would actually advocate that you interview him at some point. But his name is Brian, and his Instagram is Tatted Fisherman. And he used to always do a lot of freshwater fishing, and he still does. And one day I just said, myself and a former colleague named Mike said, yo, bro, like, you know, I want to go fishing with you, because I thought it was important to, you know, always do some of the things the students were into. Like, you know, it was cool to see them in the program from like 8 to 5 or whatever the hours were, but it was also cool to hang with them outside of the program. And so, you know, I said, like, yo, bro, I want to go fishing. And he took us, and like, he explained to us like all of this stuff from like a real technical perspective. And he was good at fishing. Like, I don't think Mike and I were catching anything. And if we did, it was like by fluke the first time. But like, he helped us to like, you know, learn how to tie our knots, to like understand like the water. And mind you, I'm like 31 at the time. He's like 23, 24, or however old he was at the time. And like he's like explaining this to us, and I just thought it was like dope to watch him be able to like catch so many different fish and like understand the technique to be able to do that. And so I eventually started going out with Mike, and then I started going out by myself, and like I really started to get into not only the technical aspect of it, but it was like very comforting and therapeutic for me. So like at a time where like I wasn't going to like traditional therapy, that was like my idea of therapy, because I felt like I was being fed by just spending time alone and like trying to learn something different that isn't traditionally taught. And that just gave me such fulfillment, and like, you know, not to sound corny, but it made me feel full. And I just started doing that. But then what I really learned is like, once I got away from like the hook and the worm, and like I started to learn the technique aspect of it, it just like unleashed and opened like a whole new like realm of like interest for me. And I think I can liken it to, I guess, golf, right? I don't go golfing, but I know there are plenty of men that do. And like for me, I can sit back very ignorantly and say like, golf looks corny. Like, what's so intriguing about that? But then like when you hear people speak about like that are actually like studying and are students of the game, and they're like regurgitating like the things that they learned to you, it's like actually really interesting. So I, you know, kind of draw the comparison of like golf to fishing and any other thing that you have interest in that isn't quote unquote black. It was just like really, really cool to like learn that and to say like, I know how to do something else outside of like fishing or outside of what I used to do in education and so forth. And like, I'm genuinely learning and having fun doing it. And then outside of that, I'm bringing home fish to eat for dinner. So like, if God forbid a zombie apocalypse happens, like I'll be all right. All right.
As a fact, I think that's extra dope. I actually feel like all black and brown people, especially young black and brown inner city people, should get a chance to go golfing and or fishing, because it can be therapeutic, and it can be like, we're used to such a little bit of hustle and bustle, especially when I believe if you young growing up in the inner city, you used to life moving, and you don't even know what it's like for life to just be serene, whether you walking on the green with your joint, or you sitting on a boat and you just looking at the sea. Like you're so not non-conditioned to that atmosphere that the second you get there, it's going to be a little bit of therapeutic, because it's peace, and you ain't had that. So like, I encourage all black and brown people, especially the boys, to get a shot at fishing and, hey, be able to hunt what you kill. Why not?
Well, hold on. And encourage the women too.
Absolutely.
The women can get out there. Like, I just had this conversation with someone. You know, I used to like play pool back in the day. I used to be like a pool shark. And believe it, well, I don't want to say believe it or not, because that's minimizing, but a lot of the best pool players I saw were women.
Right.
And it was because they just had like just such a gentle like touch, you know, when it came to like the stroke. Mm-hmm. And understanding the game and like being very patient. And they knew that on the sideline, dudes was mad that they couldn't like crush these women, but like they was using that for fuel. And like that was just always cool to me. Like, yo, women really be killing it. And conversely, like when it comes to fishing, like I just went fishing with another photographer this past weekend, and like she's heavy into it, and like that's cool. Like cool. So for me, like, you know, as black people, we need to occupy all spaces regardless of gender and like societal norms or whatever. Like, who cares? Like, just if you want to go fishing or you want to go hunting, male, female, do that. Like, I think that's cool. Like, that's yeah.
And I think they need those experiences. Like you said, you was working with kids and get out of Wilmington, right? Those experiences are so imperative to kind of opening your mind and understanding possibilities in general.
Yep.
And that brings me to my next question from this list, which is, and I ask all my guests this question, right? If you could give advice to a young E. Lake, right? You know, might have been between B and E's. I don't know what you was doing when you was younger, but Lake, out here figuring it out. Before you had it figured out, though. Before you was advocating. Before you was back when you was still a knucklehead E.
Yeah.
But the year is 2023, right? So if there was a younger E and you had to give him advice, but the year is 2023, what advice would you give a young E in 2023?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say leave the temporaries alone.
So that's a bar. Oh, that's a bar.
And the temporaries for me at the time were women, drugs, alcohol, fun. Don't get me wrong. I had a great time, and I think you should live life.
I had a great time.
Yeah. And you should live life, but also, like, I don't like to say you lost time, because I think you're where you need to be, and life happens the way it's supposed to happen in the timeline in order that it should.
Mm-hmm.
But I know there were moments where I was 100% stagnant. And regardless of where my life is now, I could have been doing something much more productive. And whether that productivity would have gotten me here beyond, or I would have been, in a worse off situation where I am now, I dealt with a lot of temporary gratification in my mid 20s, and it was just like, damn. Like, I wish I would have spent more time like learning about things, like the knack and the quench for knowledge that I have now, the passion that I have for reading, at a voracious level, and like understanding different worldly events. Like, all of that stuff is important to me now. And when I was in my early 20s, what was important to me was like chicks and getting high. Like, that was important to me. 2K. Like, I mean? Like, drinking, because like I was just introduced to drinking. All of that stuff was like cool.
Did you hit mute? Because I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so all of that stuff was cool to me, but in hindsight, I think like I always have my what ifs. I don't dwell on it, because if was a fifth, I'd be drunk, right? But I have my what ifs of like, what if I didn't like waste my time hanging out with people who I'm not even cool with now, doing things that I knew that I didn't like. I just wasn't able to articulate why I didn't like those things. Like, what if I stood on the values that I have now at an earlier age? And these are things like that I learned later in life through like my ex-wife. Like, she was very instrumental in like helping me to understand like my potential and understand that like I matter. Like, I remember I had a conversation with her, and I always thought like I was inadequate or inferior to like some of her friends, because she went to law school, and her friends were like either doctors or lawyers. And I was just a high school graduate. Like, I attended college, but I never graduated. And, I remember just feeling like, what the hell am I even going to say to these people? And, she was just like, you don't even realize like how much you have going for yourself. And like, I think you're very smart. And like, she just poured into me and helped me to realize my potential. And so I say all that to say, like, if I knew all of that at a younger age, like, it's just the wondering of like what could have been, right? Now I'm cool with where I am.
Right.
I sometimes think like, and not often, but like, damn, what if I wasn't like going to Palmer's, every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night in Philly? Bro, yeah, I mean, what if I wasn't like smoking? What if I never like started smoking weed as often as I did?
Mm-hmm.
Never got locked up a few times. Like, what if I never had a child at a very young age, like didn't know anything about a child? Like, what if I waited to, do certain things in life? And, I guess, like I said, my advice to myself would be anything that is temporary and fleeting, you don't need it.
Mm.
It it's just it's here today, gone tomorrow, which is a quote from a famous, I think, Drake song with Jay-Z on it. And, it's like those things, like, that's like the one piece of advice that I would give myself.
Absolutely, that's fire. Listen, I'm here for it. Y'all stay away from them temporary gratifications. And I like to ask that question because hopefully, because out there in this world there is a younger you, and it is 2023. So hopefully, this being out in the ethos will help them not get lost in something temporary and kind of hunker down. So I'm here for that.
Yeah.
Ooh, this has been dope. Like this was all right. No, no conversation. So all right. So I do this thing where I tell people, and telling you this is funny because you've seen me do this before. But okay, I do this thing where I tell people, if you give me a word, I'll give you a poem. I'm telling you that so you can think of it while you think of it. So November 18th. What's the people thinking? All right, it's going to be me, my man D-Harv, the MKT Place Gallery. It's going to be a vibe. It's going to be spoken word with the baddest band in the land talking about Harvey Road. It's going to be some Chef Rell is going to be on the grill with the food sponsor. It's the season sponsored by Rhythm and Heat, so it's low on the sodium, right? We'll have the deluxe ticket includes a libation. It includes an infused edible, and it includes your meal. What? You can't even beat that. That's November 18th, MKT Place Gallery. What's the people thinking? Now, my man E. I tell him.
First of all, keep doing your thing, man. I love what you're doing and like how you getting out there, putting yourself out. And like I'll be honest, like I first heard your name like late last year. I think I saw you on like Instagram, and now I just see you everywhere. I don't know if it's because my circle have changed or if it's because you're like popping like that. I'd love to believe, and I feel like it's both. But like, hats off to you, man. You deserve your flowers, dog. Like, I don't know if you get your flowers as often or like told like, yo, bro, you're killing it. But like, dog, I'm proud of you for like doing and like getting out here and like being a black man and like putting on and like, not only talking about yourself, but like you're shining a light on like other individuals in your community. And like that's really cool, bro. Like, that's cool.
I appreciate it. Listen, I just want everybody to win, and I feel like if I can be a vehicle to help others win, then why not? Like, that's literally how my brain works. Like, everybody can really eat. I tell people, 500,000 people in Newcastle County. It seems small, but it's not as small as it looks, right? Everybody think they know everybody. You only know your circle. Let's go ahead and mix some of these circles up and eat. Like, there's bread. Yeah, so. I truly do appreciate that. I'll be chilling. I'm humble, arrogant, so I don't even be. I'll be light.
Yeah, for sure. But
you got a word for me?
Yeah. I guess my word would be empowered.
Okay. All right.
I know you got some bars.
I'm thinking. They told me I could do it. All I got to do is take the right shot. But I didn't realize that in order to find the right shot, I had to take 1,000 of them. And I got discouraged when they told me there was 1,000. And I looked at the ball and said, I might not. See, they told me that I could make it as long as I take the right shot. But they didn't tell me that in order to have that right shot, I got to have the right focus. And even when I click the button, trust me, it's going to flash just after. Don't worry if you don't notice. I'm supposed to believe it if I don't see it. See, now this is when I feel like I'm ducking and I'm weaving for what I'm supposed to be receiving. See, they told me I could make it if I took the right shot. The problem is they didn't tell me what camera lens I needed for the right shot. They didn't tell me what the lighting needed to be. So forgive me if I'm not feeling like I'm where I'm supposed to be. I feel like I'm lost. Is y'all hearing me? Okay. They said, hey, yo, just start shooting and then make it do what it's supposed to be doing. What I didn't realize was the second that I picked it up and it started to clicking and the light started to moving, there would be other people following my movement. I didn't realize that the fact that they seen me do it made them believe that they could do it, even though I feel like I'm not even sure if I know what I'm doing. Okay? Like, I didn't get that. They said that I could get there as long as I took the shot, so I made sure I took as many as I could, and as long as I kept going, then I will be everything that they never thought that I could. And I would have people behind me that will be in a place that they never thought that they should. See, now I'm starting to get it, because it's really not about the shot. It's about being committed. Like, it's about making sure that those who are underserved can mark every word so they can understand that sometimes life is going to get on your nerves. But if you stand 10 toes down, then you'll make it through everything that you never thought was yours. See, now I'm starting to listen. For the longest time, I was being overwhelmed by how everyone else described my mission, and I didn't realize that I had to get to the bottom of the sea to reach up when I'm fishing. Now I'm starting to dig it. See, the whole time I'm thinking that the only way for me to get mine is if I only head for the swordfish. I get it. It really only ends pointy at the time. It only aims direct that way when it's in your mind. But in real life, sometimes, well, you'll see that the aperture lens is wide. See, this is when you can understand why you have space to put aside your pride. Okay? That way you can decide what you're supposed to do. And then I promise you, this move's different when them fishes is jumping out after you. See, the hardest part is that belief. That belief that is what is mine has always been mine, and what is ours has always been ours. And that's why I start to figure out, will I really get that far? See, sometimes I waited too long, hours after hour. Sometimes I paused before I moved. I spent too much time trying to scour. And then I realized that belief in myself is me taking all them shots. It is me fishing for what I'm supposed to be, and it is me making sure I get served what they determined that was undeserved. And that's when I knew I would be empowered.
Full circle, bro. Full circle.
Something like that out here. I'm like, I appreciate you.
Oh, wait, John. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, nah, it ain't that. Okay, you know, that's Pete. I ain't gonna say throwaway, but that? Listen, I appreciate. We always have great conversations. I appreciate you coming on my show. Anything you want to say to people before we get up out of here?
Yeah, man. First of all, I see my homie Corey in there. I actually think you should pull him up, as well as my my homie Ron Tatted Fisherman, because they're like, you know, sometimes I feel like out here you hear like the same people, but they're like two people I think like really are like making an impact and doing their thing out here. And like I would love to like hear their stories. Like I know them personally, but I'm sure there's things that I don't know about each of them, as well as some other people I see on this live, such as Anupa. But like I would love to see like you like tap in with like some of the, I don't want to call them lesser known, but some of the other undeserved impact warriors for this community out here. And like, that would be dope. And then I think other than that, I would say everybody tight lines, get out and fish. You know, I think fishing is like, you know, just life, you know, especially right now, striper season is popping. So if you want to come fishing with me, like definitely let's get it popping. Continue to follow G Dash like he's doing his thing. Shout out to Sarah Crawford, man. Sarah Crawford is just a beast. Like I'm proud of her. And you know, just shout out to Black people, man. That's it.
That's a fact. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's Black. I forgot to mention, because he forgot to mention Saturday, sir. You Saturday?
What's happening Saturday?
You
my bad.
Saturday. Don't you work? You got a whole shoot. You offered a fall shoot on Saturday, ain't you?
Oh yeah. So yeah, my bad. Yeah. So I'm running a special, you know, between now and Saturday. So from 12 to 4, if anyone has any families and they're interested in doing like a, you know, a family photo shoot, it'll be at the Blue Ball Barn. It's like right off of Concord Road or Concord Pike in Wilmington. It's $250. It includes 6 photos. They're all going to be retouched and edited. You know, I just want to be able to give back to the community. It's going to be a nice day, I believe, around that time, like 62 degrees. So, you know, it's something I haven't done before, but I just want to be able to, you know, offer some sort of service to everyone. So.
Absolutely. And the people appreciate you for that. All right. And by the way, slide me those people's names. I got Ron the Tatted Fisherman. Slide me Corey's information as well. I'll definitely get them booked on here.
Okay. Got you. No doubt, bro.
right. I appreciate you for coming on. And again, that's it. You know, it's your boy G Jones. This is Hats Off. I say love yourself first, and the rest will enjoy the rest. All right. I holla.